Welcome to GotTech Digital Escape the Room Professional Development video series. This is video number 5, publishing and sharing your digital escape the room website. The first thing that we're going to do in this video is we're going to go into our Google Drive and we're going to go to our digital escape the room folder, and we're going to make sure the folder and the files inside each one of the subfolders are shared in a way that no one gets that message that pops up and says you need to ask permission to view this file. We're going to take care of that first. Then after that, we're going to go in, we're going to double check a couple things with our digital escape the room website, and then finally we're going to publish our website and learn how to share our website out to our students. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to exit the presentation. We're going to go up to Google Drive and we're going to find our digital escape the room folder. Now that we've found our folder, we could tell that this folder has not been shared with anyone. And what that means is no one's going to be able to access it without your permission. So what we have to do is we have to make this folder and all the folders inside of it have permissions that says if anyone has a link to any of these files, they can view it or they can access it, whatever the permissions are on each one of the documents. So what we're going to do is we're going to worry about the parent folder here, because once we set the permissions there, the permissions inside will carry over. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to right click on the DETR folder, and then we're going to click on the share button. From there we want to click on advanced, and then now we're going to get into some of our sharing permissions. Right now, if you look, it's private, only I can access it because it's mine and I haven't shared it with anyone. So what we want to do is we want to come over to change and we want to look at our link sharing options. Right now, it's off and it's only specific people can see it, and the people that can see it is me because I didn't share it with anyone. Alright, up at the top you could say on, and anyone on the web can view it. What I would do is I would not have that one checked, because that allows anyone outside, if they get into your folders, they can view everything and have access to it. What I like to do is I like to check on and anyone with a link. So notice we put all of our links into our digital escape the room website, so they are going to have the link, so when they click on it they're going to be able to open that document. And we want to make sure that down here it says can view only. You can change to organize, add, and edit, but we don't want students to be able to do that, and we don't want people out on the web to be able to edit everything that we've just created. So can view only, and then you're going to hit save. So now where it said that it was private before, anyone who has the link can view your digital escape the room. Once we're done with that, we are going to hit done. So now when you go back out to your parent folder, you can see that there's a little person there, meaning that we shared it with other people. If you double click on this and you go into your subfolders, they now have the same permissions as the parent folder. If you would start sharing your folders with the subfolder, you would have to go through each one of them. So by clicking on the parent permission and changing the sharing options or the sharing settings for that folder, it automatically gives all the folders and files inside of that the same permissions. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to go to our digital escape the room website. And the one thing that we have to do before we get into publishing the site is we have to make sure that everything is the way that we want it. So now's the time where you go and you take a last look to see if you have to change the sizing of any of the pictures or the fonts or any of the background colors and things like that. You want to do that now. Another thing that you want to do is you want to go through all your pictures and you want to make sure that they have hyperlinks there. So what you do is you hover over a picture, you click on it, and if it has the link, we're good for now. And we'll leave that there for now. But make sure that you're adding any of your finishing touches, and when you're done with that, you can come back to the video and we could proceed. Now that your website is the way that you want it to be and the links are there and everything looks good, we're going to publish this. But before we come up and we hit the publish bar, we're going to hit the shared with others. We need to define how we want to share these digital escape rooms with other people. And right now this digital escape room is shared with my 2 accounts, and I'll explain why in a couple of seconds. But I made this so anyone can find and view the site. So anyone that's clicking on this professional development can go in and they can look at it and they can find it. But what I want you to do is I want you to hit the change word link there, and it's going to bring up our publish setting page. And I want to go over these real quick. So if specific people can view when published, that means that you have to share the link with them. You have to share this directly with them. Some people like this option because it keeps it contained and it keeps it from going to anywhere other than their students. The other option in the middle is anyone at Hopewell Valley, that's where I teach, can find and view this published version. So what that does is if your school has an email account through Google, that keeps anyone in your school, basically they are the only ones that can view this digital escape room. No one from the outside can view it because we're containing it within our own server. The last option is anyone can find and view this published version. I like to share the digital escape rooms that I make, and as long as everyone is forced to make a copy of all the documents in there, I don't mind other people using and trying out these digital escape rooms. So that's the one I'm going to click, and I'm going to hit save. Alright, so now you can see published, anyone can find and view. We're going to hit done. Alright, it's the time everyone's been waiting for, and we're going to publish this website. Alright, easily you could just publish it by going there, but I want to show you this down arrow publish options, because if you decide that you want to make changes to your digital escape room, you're going to have to understand how to do that. Alright, so we have our publish settings here. We have view publish site and unpublish. Alright, unpublish, you don't need to unpublish it in order to make edits. Okay, all that you need to do after you make an edit is hit the published button again. Unpublished would be if you wanted to take your website down off the web after your classes have done the digital escape room. And so you could go back on later and republish it, and it can go back up. So that would make your digital escape room contained, so only when you're using it, it will be out on the web. You can view published site, and I'll explain why you need this in a little bit. And you could go to publish settings. In publish settings, you could change your URL address, and I'll show you that real quick. So every website's going to have sites.google.com, whatever server you're on, and then whatever you want after that, you can personalize it. So I put Got Tech and the Odyssey, and that's going to be my URL address. It will be this whole big giant URL. And usually what I'll do is use a URL shortener to shorten that link. So if we go to publish, we're going to publish the site. And notice it says your site has been published successfully. Now we can go view it. You could click on that button, and it's going to bring up your published site. Down here, if you want to go back to the editing page, you could do that. Students will not see this because they do not have editing rights. Only people that have editing rights will see this when they click on the website. Alright, so now we have published our digital escape room. There's one more step. The last step is to get someone to test out your digital escape room before you hand it out to the students. So what I usually do is I get one of my colleagues that I'm working with who knows the Odyssey or whatever subject that you're working with for your digital escape room, and I give them the URL. So I'll send them this URL, and I'll ask them to go through the whole digital escape room. I'll give them the answer key to each one of the clues. I'll give them the lock form, answer key there as well, and I'll have them work through it. And the whole goal behind this is to make sure that A, all the links open up correctly, and B, the students can get the right answers, and C, the lock form is set up the correct way. So if you follow through each step, I'm pretty confident that you'll be just fine. If you have any questions about your digital escape room, I can help troubleshoot them for you. So I guess the only thing else that we have to talk about is how you're going to share this with your students. And that's pretty easy. You take the URL and you make a copy of the URL, and you could email it to your students if you have a class group. If you have an LMS, you could put it in the messages there or the assignments. And lastly, if you're just writing it up on the board, what I would do is use a URL shortener, and I'll put one of those videos on how to use the URL shortener into the resources of this professional development. But we are now done. Hopefully at this point in time you have a finished digital escape room that you can put into your lesson plans and have your students try out.